Alright guys, welcome back to the Junk Planet. I have spent the last few days blasting away on my PS5. I'm absolutely in love with it, so I thought I would give you guys some of my initial impressions. Hopefully you got to see my unboxing video. I had a lot of fun making that. Well, I say that, it was quite inconvenient having to film it downstairs, just there's not a lot of space here, but it was fun nonetheless. So I'm just going to dive into what I think of the console. I've now had enough hands-on time with it to sort of get a sense of what works, what I enjoy about it, what I'm looking forward to in the future, and just the features that I'm just excited to talk about. First off, let's talk about the interface. Not much has changed in terms of interface too much. It is essentially the PS4 UI, however here it is a lot more streamlined and easier to navigate. As you did in the PlayStation 4, you have the little icons where your games are. Unfortunately at the moment there is no way of organizing them into folders. They have not added that, as well as there is no access to themes. There are no themes here as there were on the PS4. Instead, when you hover over a game, it just shows you an image of the game, and you can go into the game hub, and here you can access your achievements and different add-on packs you can get for the game, or take you to the store. Which, speaking of, the store is now integrated fully into the UI, which is amazing. You no longer have to click on the PlayStation Store and then wait for it to load to take you to its own separate page. It is just built in. You go on over, everything's there. It's so quick. Now, speaking of being quick, that is the main thing I noticed with the PS5. That SSD is making so much difference. Now when navigating, there's no delay when you press a button at all. It is swift. It is just like that. One other thing about the UI that I absolutely love is the taskbar. Now, when you press the PS button on the controller, it brings up this little taskbar at the bottom, which you can customize. And here you can get easy access to things such as your downloads, notifications, party chats. And the best thing about this is when you're in a game, and I was looking for a jigsaw piece that I couldn't find, and I was searching everywhere over it. Now, normally, my instinct would be to get my phone out, look at a guide and try and find it online. Whereas now, you can bring up the taskbar, or bring up a little box, you can then look at a hint telling you where it is. And now this hint will most likely be a video. You can click on the video, you can then watch it, and it will show the developer or whoever made the game going and finding the jigsaw piece for you, which is so helpful. The only thing I'm worried about this is that obviously the developers have to make this feature available. So it may range from game to game what actually has that feature available, because I imagine it is quite time consuming to make videos for all the collectibles in the game, especially if you have like a big open world game. The design. In terms of design, it took a long time to grow on me. When I first saw that reveal, I was like, this is ugly. Normally PlayStations are quite sleek. That's my sort of vision of them, especially since the PS2. The original PlayStation 1 is quite ugly, but it's oddly nostalgic in that way. The PS2, it was black, especially the slim model, it was just a sleek design. And then moving to the PS3, the original fat PS3 was relatively ugly, but then as they went down the models, it got sleeker and sleeker and sleeker. And then the PS4 was in italics for some reason, but it looked great. I loved it. The Pro, not so much, because it was just two PS4s stacked on top of each other. That was a weird design choice. And then the PS5 is just something completely different. The fact that it's all white, well, I know that the middle has black, but white is such a prominent feature in the PS5's design, which is bizarre. It's always been black and blue for the games and the logo. So that was a strange choice. And the size of the thing is out of this world. If you've watched my unboxing video, you'll probably get my initial reaction to the size of the bloody system. It is massive. That all said, it has grown on me bizarrely. It's definitely a centerpiece now. You look at it and it draws you in. There's nothing else quite like it. And now the comparisons to a internet modem are obvious, much like with the Series X and the fridge. It looks like a fridge. But there is still something about it that is visually striking. I don't know. Maybe it won't grow on you, maybe it will. Who knows? Where would a console be without its games? And this is where, in my opinion, the PlayStation trumps Xbox entirely. In the previous generation, the PS4 absolutely dominated with its first-party titles like Last of Us 2, Uncharted 4, God of War, Ratchet & Clank. Oh, there are just so many. Bloodborne, list goes on. Xbox had Gears of War, Halo 5, which wasn't even that good, and Recore, Rise, Son of Rome. If you don't remember these, then I don't blame you, because no one does. When it comes to the launch titles, Sony definitely brought their A game. I was able to pick up quite a few. A game that actually comes pre-installed on your system is Astrobot's Playroom. Now, I went in thinking this was just going to be some sort of tech demo. When it came to thinking about PlayStation launch titles, that was more of a backseat, because I know the PS4 came with some tech demo sort of games, but they weren't really games at all. Whereas this, I was blown away. Astrobot's Playroom is absolutely amazing. It's not very long. It can take you about 5 hours to completely 100% the entire game. But despite that, it is an amazing experience. And if it wasn't free, if they charged 20 quid, even 30 quid for this game, I probably would have still paid it. One of the main things I love about this game is all the PlayStation Easter eggs that are hidden everywhere. You've got cameos from different characters, references to Crash Bandicoot, Kratos, Castlevania, Nathan Drake is here, even Aloy from Horizon is amazing. And as you progress through the game, you get to collect pieces of hardware from PlayStation's history, like the iToy camera or the PS1, the small one with the screen. You've got Buzz Buzzers, SingStar mics, the VR headset, and every different model of PSP. It is awesome. And it is a great showcase for the DualSense controller. Speaking of the controller, that is my favourite part of the console. Hands down. It feels next gen. There isn't anything else in the system, maybe bar the speed and the load times, that comes close to how awesome it is to hold this controller in your hands. It's very hard to describe how it works. It has this thing called haptic feedback, where previous gens, they had rumble features, there was vibration in the controller, whereas now they've managed to program it so you can have vibration in different parts of the controller, or the sensitivity of the vibrations. So say in Astrobot, you're walking around, you can feel the footsteps as the robot walks around, or if you're walking on a metal surface, you'll then feel a different sensation to what you did as when you were on grass. Or say there's wind blowing in your face, you feel the wind, or there's raindrops falling on your head, you feel the patter of the raindrops on the controller. It's amazing. And now I hear in games like Call of Duty, which I haven't got, you get a different sense through the triggers when you're firing different guns, which is so cool. It adds that extra layer of immersion, and it feels next gen. Also, in terms of the design of the controller, it feels amazing in your hands. It's a big step up from the DualShock 4. It is extremely comfortable, it's a bit meatier, it feels heavier, and it's more ergonomic, I think. Now, back to the games. Another game I got, which I feel like everyone probably got if you got a PS5, is Spider-Man Miles Morales. I loved the first Spider-Man game. It was one of my favourite games. I'm obsessed with Spider-Man, so being able to get a AAA first-party Spider-Man game for the PlayStation is just amazing, and that game blew my mind, and Miles Morales did the same. I beat it the other day. Unfortunately, it's not as long as the first game. It's more of a, I don't want to say DLC add-on, because that would be doing it a disservice, because it's a lot longer than that, and it's also the quality is way better than any DLC you would normally get. It feels like its own game, and I think it justifies the full price, because here in the UK it's $49.99, and now I know PS5 games are retailing for $69.99, so it is slightly cheaper, but it doesn't really feel like it, because there are games from last gen that are RP for $49.99, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Watch Dogs Legion. So it doesn't really feel like a discount title, because it's still technically the same price as games were normally. It's just that PS5 games are now more expensive, so it doesn't really feel like it's cheaper. But it is amazing. I love the story. They've really improved some of the web swinging, the combat. I love Miles' new abilities. It's just a great game, and the ending, superb. Absolutely amazing. The only downside I'd say to that game is that some of the unlockable costumes aren't as great as they were in the first game, but that's a minor nitpick. Speaking of Miles Morales, I got the Ultimate Edition, which also came with Spider-Man Remastered. And now Spider-Man Remastered is just the original game, but now it's 4K 60 FPS. Technically 4K 60 FPS. Now this applies to Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remastered. There are two modes you can choose from, one fidelity mode and one performance mode. Fidelity mode plays the game in 30 FPS, but it has a lot of the new visual enhancements, such as ray tracing and realistic lighting and reflections. And I played the game briefly in this mode, and I will say, yeah, visually stunning. However, I am a sucker for frame rates, so I chose the performance mode because the 60 FPS in the Spider-Man games, it really adds much more fluidity to the combat and the web swinging, and it's an extremely noticeable improvement when you go from one mode to the other. And I switched from fidelity mode to performance, and immediately I was like, yeah, this is the way I'm playing the game. This is the way this was meant to be played. One of the big controversies with Spider-Man Remastered is the new design of Peter Parker, which I'm not completely on board for. I understand why people are mad about it. I don't really care that they've changed it. That doesn't particularly bother me. But what does bother me is that the change kind of goes against what the character is. In the original Spider-Man PS4, this Peter Parker is a lot older. He's supposed to be in his mid-20s. He's been at it for a few years now. So it's kind of strange that they've gone for a face that looks a lot younger. Obviously it's supposed to look like Tom Holland, which it does. However, he then ends up looking about 12 years old. And it's just bizarre. Next I have Demon's Souls. Now, I'm not a huge Dark Souls fan, but I was looking for PlayStation 5 games to play, and I was pleasantly surprised by this one. It's not as hard as people kept going on about it to be. It's definitely challenging, and I died a lot. But it's never frustrating, which I find a lot of games of that caliber to be. I did play Sekiro, in fact I beat Sekiro, I loved that game. But when it came to getting into Dark Souls and Bloodborne, it never did it for me. However, this one may be my waypoint into the series, and it looks amazing on the PS5. This is probably the best looking game available on the system. Even though Miles Morales does look superb, it still feels a bit like a last gen game, just with some visual enhancements, whereas Demon's Souls does feel like next gen. Which makes sense because it is only available on PS5. Now, there would be another game I would talk about here, which is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I bought this game when it came out, I think on the 12th of November, because I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan. I was super excited for this game. And I bought the PS4 version because on the box it says, oh, PS5 upgrade. That was a lie. I don't know what is happening, but in the UK, for some reason, for many users, you cannot upgrade from the PS4 to the PS5 version. So if you look this up online, many people outside of Europe, in the US, upgrading just fine. There's no issue at all. Whereas for some reason in the UK, there just isn't an option for a lot of players. Now, I've contacted Ubisoft about this, contacted Sony, I've tweeted at them. I've tried everything in my power to try and fix this. But Ubisoft aren't even responding about it. They're not even treating it like it's an issue. They just go to you and they're like, oh, you go on the homepage, click these 3 dots, PS5 upgrade should be just there. It's not there. The next thing I want to talk about is backwards compatibility. It's one of the reasons I still have my giant, fat, original model PS3 is because it can play PS2 and PS1 games in HD. And I was super excited when Sony announced that PS5 will be backwards compatible, and some games have actually been given upgrades. Now, 2 of these games are Ghost of Tsushima and Days Gone. They both look amazing. They run at 4K, 60 FPS, and the improvement is night and day. They feel like they've been remastered, except it's for free. And I love Ghost of Tsushima. I haven't actually beat it yet. It's one I've been going back to every now and then, and I absolutely have a blast whenever I play it. And now I just want to go back and complete it, because I'm in awe whenever I'm looking at that game on PS5. Same with Days Gone, and the upgrades here are amazing. It blew my socks off watching this game. Now, unfortunately, it's Days Gone, and I don't really care for the game that much. I've played bits here and there. I probably sunk about 10 hours into it, but it just wasn't for me, wasn't digging it. And going back to it now, it still had some of that weird jank that was in Days Gone, and it's just a kind of a generic zombie game. But the production values are through the roof, and it looks breathtaking. Also, these games get quicker load times. Like, fast travel in Ghost of Tsushima is now practically instant. it is very impressive. The only fault that becomes apparent with the backwards compatibility is that some games just won't get an improvement. For a lot of first-party titles such as Last of Us 2, Uncharted 4, even God of War, they're going to need to get a patch in order to fully utilize the capabilities of the PS5. For example, let's say Uncharted 4, that game is capped at 30 FPS. It has a locked frame rate. So when you put it into your PS5, even though the PS5 definitely could run that game at 60 frames per second in 4K, no problem, it's not gonna, because the developers locked it when that game originally came out. So unless they put a patch out, you're most likely going to be seeing very similar performance from these games. The only improvement you'll get is maybe it'll knock 10 seconds off the load times, which is a massive shame for a game like Last of Us 2, which only came out this year. And I know a lot of people were excited to play that on PS5. In fact, some people held off buying the PS4 version because they assumed there would be an upgrade for the PS5. And unfortunately there isn't. That game looks basically exactly the same as it would on the PS4 Pro. I'm hoping Naughty Dog will do something about this. Fingers crossed. I just want to take a quick moment to talk about the future of this system. Now, I know one big problem a lot of people have experienced is actually not being able to find a system out there in the wild. Unless you were there to pre-order it on the day it went up, you probably weren't able to get one. In fact, even if you went on that day, it was extremely difficult. All the sites were crashing. So I do feel for people, especially coming up to Christmas, who are not going to be able to get one of these systems. I know a lot of friends who are in that same boat. I'm hoping a new batch will come in sooner rather than later, but I do think at the moment it's looking more likely that it's going to be 2021 until most people have these systems in their hands. Which, for the time being, I don't think is too bad of a deal, because the only real next-gen experiences you can only get on PS5 are Astrobot and Demon's Souls. Miles Morales, Sackboy, they are all available on PS4, and you're only going to get rather incremental improvements with the PS5 version. But hopefully in the future, when more people have these consoles, you'll be able to look forward to games such as Horizon, Forbidden West, Ratchet and Clank, and God of War 2. Man, am I excited for God of War 2. In comparison to the Series X and S, I don't have either of those systems. I'm much more of a PlayStation fanboy myself. I did own an Xbox One, but I rarely played on it. And I feel like with this generation, unless Microsoft pulls their finger out when it comes to first-party titles, it's probably going to be a very similar looking race. The only game for the Series X that I'm interested in is Halo Infinite, because I used to love Halo back in the day, but even then that game doesn't even look that impressive. And a lot of people have been outspoken about this. And it was originally supposed to be a launch title for the new systems, but it got delayed, which I'm glad it did, because that game did not look finished, and I feel like Halo deserves a lot better. But the big thing is, now that I have a PS5, I don't think I'm going to be interested in getting a Series X. And if Halo Infinite is backwards compatible, I'm just going to play the Xbox One version. Or, if it is not, I may consider investing in a Series S, because I feel like that'd be a good console to have, as well as the PS5, because I'm going to get basically all the games for PS5, whereas with the Series S, you can get Game Pass and all the first-party Xbox titles like Gears of War, Halo, that's kind of it, that you would want to play, would then be available for free through a subscription service. Hopefully that wasn't too rambly. I thought I had a lot to get off my chest when it came to this new system. I'm so excited about it. And hopefully I'll see you soon. Look forward to more videos. Bye.